I never thought the happiest day of my life would transform into the biggest nightmare right before the altar. I was living in Charlotte, working as a dispatcher for a logistics company. The work was nerve-wracking but interesting. Every single day I had to coordinate dozens of trucks, solve unpredictable situations, and manage crisis after crisis. I remember one particular incident when a driver got stuck in a spring downpour somewhere near the South Carolina border. The roads were washed out, and he was carrying a temperature-controlled container with medications. I spent 3 hours searching for an alternative route, calling every service I could think of, until I finally found a way to reroute the cargo through a neighboring town. The client was thrilled, and I felt like my work really mattered. It gave me a sense of purpose that I carried with me everywhere. I met Linda 2 years ago in a coffee shop in downtown Charlotte. She worked as a cosmetologist at a prestigious salon in the city center. She was bright, always smiling, impeccably groomed. Her job was reflected in her appearance. Everything about her seemed polished, professional, and genuinely warm. We started dating, and at first, everything felt perfect. In the evenings, we'd discuss our days. She'd tell me about her clients and their life stories that she'd learned during procedures, and I'd share my dispatcher adventures and the crazy situations I had to handle. We spent spring evenings in the park by the lake, eating ice cream and planning our future together. Linda loved to cook. On Saturdays she'd experiment with Italian cuisine, and I'd try not to get in her way, though sometimes I had to save dinner when something started burning. We went to concerts together. She loved jazz, though I was more of a rock music person. But I would go anywhere just to see her happy smile. Those moments felt like they could last forever. One evening she told me she'd been married before. The marriage hadn't lasted long, and they'd separated without too much drama. I didn't attach much significance to it. People make mistakes and they have the right to move on. I was a romantic at heart who believed in one true love. After a year of dating, I decided to propose to her. She said yes, and we started planning our wedding. March in Charlotte that year was warm. The flowers were blooming earlier than usual, and we chose to have our wedding in early April. We booked a banquet hall at one of the city's best hotels, arranged catering, and invited relatives from other states. My mother flew in from California, and her parents drove in from Texas. I spent almost all of my savings, but this was supposed to be the best day of our lives. Everything felt like it was falling into place perfectly, and I couldn't imagine anything going wrong. A week before the wedding, Linda organized a bachelorette party. I didn't know the details. She just said she was going out with her friends Rose and Lily at a private club downtown. I didn't object, as it was tradition. I planned a modest evening with my friends Henry and Carl, pizza, beer, and poker. Nothing special. We had a great time, though I'll admit I was thinking about Linda the whole time. The next day, I had to meet with the master of ceremonies to discuss final details. Linda slept until noon. She said the girls had partied until early morning. I went to my meeting, then bought some last-minute items for the wedding. That evening we had a scheduled rehearsal at the church, but Rose asked to meet with me earlier. She said it was important. My heart sank at the way she said it, but I didn't understand why. We met at a coffee shop a few blocks from our apartment. Rose looked distressed, nervously twirling her coffee cup. She kept looking around as if checking that no one was watching us, and I could tell something was deeply wrong. "Mark, I need to show you something," she said quietly, her voice trembling. I didn't understand what she was talking about. She took out her phone and started a video. At first, I saw the familiar interior of the club: music, laughter, girls with glasses in their hands. Then the camera stopped on Linda. She was dancing. But not alone. A man was almost completely undressed. A professional stripper, that much was obvious. But what happened next made me forget how to breathe. They started kissing. Not a quick kiss, not an accident. It was lingering. Her hands on his body, his hands on her. She was laughing, clearly enjoying the moment. The intimacy of it felt like a physical blow. "Delete this," I heard her voice on the video. She was laughing, speaking to someone off camera. "Let this stay between us." The video ended. I sat there, staring at my empty coffee cup, unable to process what I'd just witnessed. My hands were shaking. Everything inside me felt like it was breaking apart. "I'm sorry, Mark," Rose whispered. "I couldn't let you marry her without knowing the truth. Lily recorded this, but she didn't want to show you. She said it was just a silly mistake, but I couldn't let you do this." I thanked her and asked her to send the video to my email. The rest of the day I spent in a kind of stupor. My brain refused to accept reality. Our relatives were already in the city. We'd paid for the banquet. The dress was hanging in the closet. The rings were in a box on the dresser. Everything was ready for the wedding of my dreams, and it was all built on a foundation of lies. That evening at the rehearsal, Linda was incredibly joyful. She hugged me, kissed me, told me how happy she was. I pretended everything was fine. Inside, a fire was burning, but I decided to wait. I decided to do this my way. I barely slept the night before the wedding. I kept going through different scenarios in my head. I could simply cancel the wedding, tell the truth to our parents, and separate quietly. But something inside me was boiling over. She was confidently walking toward the altar, knowing she had betrayed me, knowing she was deceiving me. And this was her second marriage? Was she really capable of faithfulness at all? Or was this just who she was? I realized there was nothing to talk about. She had made her choice that night in the club. Now it was my turn to make mine. I would show her what it felt like to have everything you believed in suddenly shattered. To have your world collapse in front of everyone you cared about. The morning of the wedding was sunny. April heat was already in the air. Guests were gathering at the hotel. I arrived early and made arrangements with the technical staff. I asked to be able to connect a flash drive to the projector before the ceremony. I told them I wanted to show a romantic presentation. They were happy to agree. They probably did this kind of thing all the time. The ceremony was supposed to start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The hall was decorated with white flowers, and a string quartet was playing soft classical music. Guests were seated in their places. My family on the left, her family on the right. Linda's parents looked proud. My friends Henry and Carl sat in the second row, smiling at me encouragingly. Everything was perfect, picture perfect, like something from a magazine. Linda appeared in her dress. She looked stunning, I have to admit. White lace, a veil, professional makeup. Her cosmetic skills were clearly being put to good use. She walked toward the altar and took my hands. Her eyes were shining with what looked like genuine love and happiness. The priest began the ceremony. Standard words about love, faithfulness, respect. Every word hit me like a blow because I knew what I was about to do. When it came time for the exchange of vows, I raised my hand. I apologize, I said loudly so everyone could hear. Before we continue, I want to say a few words and show a video. Linda went pale. She understood. Panic flashed in her eyes. Mark, what are you? Just watch, I interrupted her. I nodded to the technical staff. The lights dimmed, the projector came to life. On the large screen, the video from the Bachelorette party appeared. Loud music, revelry, and then, that moment, Linda kissing the undressed man. Her hands on his body. Her laughter. Her words, delete this. Dead silence fell over the hall. Then there were gasps and exclamations. Linda's mother covered her mouth with her hands. Her father jumped from his seat. My parents sat in shock, not understanding what was happening. Some of the younger guests pulled out their phones, recording. I realized. The video ended. I turned to face the guests. As you've understood, this wedding won't be happening, I said calmly, though I was screaming inside. But everything has already been paid for. The food, the music, the bar. So I propose that we celebrate my divorce. Whoever wants to stay, please do. We'll have a good time. Linda cried. Not quietly but loudly, sobbing. Her makeup was running, her veil was getting wet. She tried to say something, but her words were lost in the crying. Her mother ran to her, embraced her. Her father looked at me with hatred and rage burning in his eyes. You've destroyed her, he screamed at me. You've publicly humiliated her. She destroyed herself, I replied, and I meant every word. I just showed the truth. Linda's family started leaving. Her parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all of them were walking out, throwing angry glances at me. Linda ran after them, stumbling over the long dress. I could hear her sobs for a few more minutes until the doors closed. About half of the guests remained in the hall. My parents approached me. Son, my mother embraced me. We're so sorry. It's okay, I said, though it was a lie. It's better to find out now than a year into marriage. Henry and Carl came over, patted me on the back. Rose stood aside, guilt written all over her face, but I nodded to her gratefully. She had saved me from a terrible mistake. The master of ceremonies, an older man named Walter, approached me with a confused expression. What should I do? He asked. Entertain the guests, I replied. Do you have experience improvising? 30 years in the business, he smiled. But never something like this. Walter turned out to be a true professional. He managed to break the tension with jokes, put on energetic music, and got the waiters to serve drinks. Gradually the atmosphere relaxed. People started to loosen up, talk to each other, even dance. I stood by the bar with a glass of whiskey. Henry sat next to me. That was bold, he said. But how did you hold it together? I probably would have fallen apart earlier. I wanted her to feel what I felt, I admitted. When I saw that video, my world fell apart. I wanted her world to fall apart too. Well, you achieved that, Carl joined us. Everyone knows now. Her reputation is destroyed. Indeed, the video spread quickly. Someone from the guests apparently recorded it on their phone. By the end of the evening, it was already all over social media. I didn't spread it, but I didn't stop it either. Part of me wanted everyone to know exactly what kind of person Linda really was. The party continued late into the night. People ate, drank, and danced. Some said this was the most unusual wedding they'd ever been to. Walter improvised toasts to freedom, to honesty, to new life. It was surreal but somehow therapeutic. The dark humor helped everyone process what had happened, and eventually, most people seemed to be genuinely enjoying themselves. When the guests left, I returned to our apartment. Linda wasn't there. She had taken some things and disappeared. Her mobile phone wasn't answering. I didn't call much. I didn't see the point. Whatever we had was over, and there was nothing more to say. The next few days were difficult. I had taken time off for the wedding and honeymoon, so I had time to think about everything. Friends supported me and my parents called every day. Rose apologized that everything turned out this way, but I was grateful to her. Bitter truth is better than sweet lies. A week later, Linda finally texted me. A long message full of apologies, explanations, pleas. She said it was just a kiss, that she had been drinking, that nothing more happened. She asked to meet up, talk things through, give her a chance. I replied briefly, not interested. Our relationship is over. She continued to write and call. I blocked her number. After some time, she showed up near my workplace. Henry, who worked in a neighboring company, warned me. I went out the back exit. The real shock came when I found out the details. The stripper turned out to be Edward, an auditor who worked in the same building as Linda's salon. They had met at some party a month earlier. He did stripper work on the side at private events. Linda had specifically hired him for the Bachelorette party. She knew who he was. It wasn't an accident. It was a premeditated meeting. She knew exactly what she was doing. When I found out about this from Rose, who had talked to Lily, I felt even worse. But at the same time better. It completely confirmed that I had made the right decision. There was no excuse here, no, it just happened. She had deliberately set this up. Over the next few weeks, I had time to process everything. I realized that I wasn't just betrayed in a moment of weakness, I was deliberately deceived. Linda had planned this, knowing I was planning to marry her the very next day. The audacity of it, the coldness of the calculation was staggering. A month later, Linda tried to contact me again through mutual acquaintances. It turned out that Edward had refused to meet with her after the scandal. He didn't want problems, didn't want to be associated with that story. Linda was left completely alone. The man she had risked everything for didn't even want to know her. That was a kind of justice in itself. Some of my acquaintances said I had gone too far. That public humiliation was too cruel. But I didn't regret it. She had a choice: be honest, tell me the truth before the wedding, or not do it at all. She chose to lie. I chose the truth. Summer passed slowly. I returned to work, diving into coordinating routes and solving logistics problems. Work helped me not think about everything. Friends dragged me out to parties, tried to introduce me to someone new, but I wasn't ready. The wounds were still too fresh. In autumn, I accidentally saw Linda in downtown Charlotte. She was walking alone, absorbed in her phone. Our eyes met for a moment. I saw in her eyes a mixture of shame, pain, and maybe regret. But I just walked past. I said nothing. There was no need. That episode had closed. I found out from Rose that Linda had quit the salon. After the scandal, clients started refusing her services. The video had spread through the city faster than she could have imagined. Her reputation was destroyed. Within 2 weeks, she had lost nearly all of her regular clients. People who had trusted her for years suddenly didn't want to be associated with her. The salon owner called her into his office and essentially gave her an ultimatum: resign or be fired. She chose to resign, though the outcome was the same either way. Edward also had problems. His company found out about his side hustle, which violated corporate ethics clauses in his employment contract. He wasn't fired immediately, but the investigation was thorough. The company decided that having an employee who moonlighted as a stripper created a liability and a reputational risk. He was offered a severance package in exchange for a quiet exit. He took it. Within a month, both Linda and Edward had essentially disappeared from their professional lives in Charlotte. What fascinated me most, though, was the human element of it all. The internet had taken that video and turned it into something far larger than either of us could have controlled. It wasn't just about Linda anymore, It became a morality play, a cautionary tale about infidelity and betrayal. People I'd never met were sharing their opinions about what happened. Some defended me entirely, calling it justified. Others said I'd been cruel. A few even tried to track down Linda on social media to send her hateful messages, which made me uncomfortable. That wasn't what I'd intended. I realized that in seeking justice for myself, I'd inadvertently created a public spectacle that had real consequences for real people. Yes, Linda had made her choices, and yes, she'd hurt me deeply. But watching her entire life unravel in real time, seeing the permanent damage to her reputation and livelihood, gave me a complicated feeling that wasn't quite satisfaction anymore. It was something closer to regret, though not regret for exposing the truth. More like regret that I'd weaponized it so publicly. Henry noticed the change in my demeanor about a month after everything happened. We were at a bar and he said, "You seem different lately. Like something's weighing on you." "I don't know," I admitted. "I feel like I did the right thing, but I also feel like I went too far. Does that make sense?" "Yeah, it does," he said thoughtfully. "You exposed a truth, but you also ended someone's life as they knew it. Both things are true at the same time." That conversation stayed with me. I started thinking about whether revenge and justice were actually the same thing. I'd pursued one thinking I was getting the other, but were they really equivalent? When I saw that video, I wanted Linda to hurt the way I hurt. But did that pain have to be permanent? Did it have to be public? The reality was that I couldn't take it back. That video was out there forever, and Linda would carry the consequences of that forever. She'd have to rebuild her reputation, change cities perhaps, start over completely. And while she deserved consequences for what she'd done, I began to question whether the scale of punishment matched the crime. By winter, I had mostly moved past it emotionally. I'd started seeing a therapist, something I probably should have done immediately after the wedding disaster, but I was too caught up in the immediate aftermath. The therapist helped me process everything: the betrayal, the rage, the desire for revenge, the complicated feelings that came after. She didn't judge me for what I'd done, but she did help me understand the difference between accountability and vengeance. "You exposed truth," she told me. "That's accountability. But you also chose to do it in the most humiliating way possible. That's vengeance. Sometimes those serve the same function, but sometimes they create new victims." "Is Linda a victim?" I asked, skeptical. "In a sense, yes. She's facing real consequences for real actions. But she also made the choice to meet that stripper, to kiss him, to hide it. She created the circumstances. You just revealed them. The question isn't whether she deserved to face consequences. She did. The question is whether you're at peace with how those consequences unfolded." I wasn't sure I had an answer to that. Carl, my other friend, took a different perspective. He thought I was being too hard on myself. "She cheated on you the night before your wedding," he'd say. "She made her bed. You didn't do anything except tell the truth. The rest wasn't your responsibility." There was truth in that too. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I could have handled it differently. What if I'd simply called off the wedding without the public spectacle? What if I'd confronted Linda privately first, given her a chance to explain herself, even though I wasn't sure she deserved one? The truth was, I'd had a moment of choice and I'd chosen the path of maximum impact. I'd wanted everyone to know. I'd wanted her family to know, my family to know, all of our friends to know, and eventually the entire internet to know. And now I had to live with the consequences of that choice, just as she had to live with the consequences of hers. My own life gradually settled down. I sold our shared apartment and moved into a smaller place. I focused on my career and got a promotion. I started spending more time with my parents and even visited them in California. One day Henry asked, "Do you ever think about her?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "But not with regret. With relief." Relief. That I didn't marry someone who wasn't capable of real faithfulness. Better to find out before the wedding than after years of marriage. That story became legendary in our circle. The most epic wedding that never was, as friends joked about it. Walter, the master of ceremonies, even offered me a discount if I ever decided to get married again. I refused with a smile. Life moved on. I met other people, started new relationships, though I was more careful. That story with Linda changed me forever. It made me more cynical but also wiser. The strangest thing is that sometimes I'm even grateful to her. For the lesson. For showing her true face then rather than years into marriage. For Rose being brave enough to show me the truth. I no longer believe in fairy tales about eternal love. But I do believe in honesty, respect, and dignity. And if I ever want to build a family again, I'll look for exactly those qualities. And that spring Saturday, when a wedding was supposed to happen but a divorce took place instead, will remain in my memory forever. As the day when I chose myself. When I refused to play a lying game. When I showed that truth, even if painful, is better than a beautiful illusion. Linda made her choice that night in the club. I made mine at the altar. Both choices had consequences. Hers, a destroyed reputation, lost relationships, loneliness. Mine, freedom, peace of mind, and a new life without deception. Thank you for watching this video. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. The screen now displays a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.